What's up, everybody? Justin here. We're back for more CD collection. We are still in the D's. I've got an interesting stack here. You will see I'm recording from yet another location. I'm playing around with quality and lighting and sound, and I'm just trying to make these. I'm starting to put more effort into it, and that worries me. So we'll see how this one turns out, and then I'll probably change something again until I'm happy with it. So anyway, we are listening to Marduk. This is Opus Nocturne. Will that focus? Can you read it? Probably not. So, this is old Marduk with Joachim Graves singing. This is pre-Legion, pre-Ariok. But Marduk doing what Marduk does. Before they turned it up and tried to play as inhumanly fast as possible on Panzer Division, which I love Panzer Division. This is just good, fucking fast, ripping black metal the way that Marduk kind of patented. Take it or leave it. Alright, into the CDs. First up, we have Mirror Ball, Def Leppard. This is not mine. This is my wife's. Now, I mentioned Def Leppard several videos ago. I was listening to High and Dry. This is a 2-disc live thing, a 3-disc live thing. I don't know. This is my wife's. I don't listen to it. She bought this because she liked some song she heard, but I'm not interested. Next, we have Defuntos with Sangre Muerto. This is Mexican black metal, I think. They're either Mexican or Spanish. I'm not sure. And to the best of my knowledge, this is just kind of standard, kind of grim black metal, but I do not remember. If it's good, I overlooked it. Or either it was not that great and I listened to it once. This came out on True Face of Evil. I got this on trade years and years and years ago. So, Defuntos. Next, here we go. Deicide. Everybody's favorite Satanists. I would say that it's hard to find a real death metal fan that doesn't like Deicide to some degree. I remember growing up and getting into death metal. Before I really listened to death metal, I had an idea of what death metal was, and the idea of Deicide scared the shit out of me. The idea that this guy branded his forehead with an upside-down cross and pledged to kill himself at age 33, it just warped my 12-year-old brain. And then when I was 16 or so, I bought Once Upon the Cross. And today, to this day, this is my favorite Deicide record. I know some people who only worship the first 2 records and then they don't care after that, but I love Once Upon the Cross. It's a little more phoned in than the first 2. It's not nearly as violent and fucking wild as Legion and the self-titled record. But I love this CD so much. It's really a cornerstone to my upbringing in death metal. This and Covenant and Tomb of the Mutilated are like my top 3 death metal records that shaped what I liked in death metal. After that, I bought the Amon Feasting the Beast compilation. Of course, Amon is the band that predated Deicide, and this is all Deicide tracks off of the first record. And I cannot tell you how many times I listened to this over and over and over again with Once Upon the Cross. I got them around the same time, and just fucking worshipped Deicide. And then along the way, I went back and I got the first 2, and I mean, the first 2 Deicides are fucking, they're mandatory. They're mandatory. They're just fucking visceral, fast, psychotic, insane, fucking satanic death metal. And no one does it like they did. No one. You cannot deny the power of these 2 records. That's all the Deicide I have on CD. I have the first 4 records on vinyl as well. But after that, I remember when In Torment in Hell came out. I got it, or I didn't get it. I heard it somewhere, and it didn't really do it for me. And I just I'll listen to a song here and there on their stuff that comes out every couple of years, and it's not worth it. But I'll tell you, I saw them about a year ago, and I saw them play in a club here in Atlanta that holds like 250 people, and it was fucking awesome. I think I mentioned it a couple of videos ago, because Kevin Quirion, who used to be in Order of Ennead and Council of the Fallen, is Deicide's guitar player now. And I talked about it when I talked about Council of the Fallen. But saw Deicide in a small club last year for the first time, finally, after listening to them for 20 years. I'd never seen them. I got to see them, and it was excellent. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what Glenn Benton we were going to get that night, but it was just fucking killer. So, next up, we have Difago. Difago is a Filipino band that lives in South America. They are Filipino by way of Costa Rica, and they play extremely fucking violent, chaotic black metal. On Filipino Antichrist, their first record, the snare drum is like a 4th member. It is just the most unrelenting shit you have ever fucking heard. And it is a very, very acquired taste. Satan Alpha Omega is their second record. They refined their sound a little bit, and you've got to be in the mood for this shit. But I love it, and they have a third album. I have all 3 of them on vinyl, but I never got the CD for the third one. They got in some hot water a couple of years ago when one of their members punched a girl backstage at a show, and you know, I don't get into all that drama. But I'll still listen to them. I think they're fucking sick. But it is certainly an acquired taste. But I really like Difago. So next we have one CD by Denouncement Pyre. Now Denouncement Pyre is from Australia. They play kind of black death metal, a little more black metal. This is World Cremation, and if I can remember correctly, it's their second album. Hell's Headbangers. I have a 7-inch by them, and I have a couple of more records on LP. And I've always really liked them. I want to say that this record is a little more like Watain. I haven't listened to it in a long time. I like the early stuff that predated this a little bit more. And then there's a record after this that I'm not that familiar with either. But I don't know what happened to my CD of the record before this one. I have misplaced it or let someone hold it or something. Story, my band played a show in New York, in Brooklyn, at St. Vitus, which is like, if you don't know, St. Vitus Bar is a metal-oriented bar / venue in Brooklyn. It holds a couple hundred people, pretty intimate, and that's where all the metal bands play. And we got to play there. We headlined we had done a short tour. We played a headlining set there one night, and the main guy in Denouncement Pyre is let me think of his black metal name is something Decay Lust. So I'm not gonna throw his real name out there because it's not even on Metal Archives. Decay Lust, who we have done trades and talked and communicated, throughout the years. He picked me up before that tour and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the States that week. I'm going to be in New York." So he showed up at the show and came and saw us, and we hung out for a little bit, and he said he enjoyed our set. And I thought that was great, that someone from the other side of the fucking world find themselves in New York and takes time out of their schedule. He was on vacation to come see my death metal band play, and I think that's fucking awesome. So hats off to him, and I haven't talked to him in a long time since then, but that was great. So next we have one of the greatest albums of all time. Depeche Mode and Violator. When I was 7 years old, this came out, and I was balls deep in Guns N' Roses and Metallica and Def Leppard and Bon Jovi and anything with guitars and long hair, and I didn't really know what metal was yet, but I loved, rock and roll. I wanted to be a rock and roll star when I grew up. And Enjoy the Silence off of this record came on the TV constantly, and it fucking drove me crazy. I hated that fucking song. Somewhere along the way, years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, I got hip to this. And if you don't know Depeche Mode, they are a kind of a dark electronic pop band. They're kind of post everything. And they've been around forever. They've been around for fucking 40 years or something now at this point. But World in My Eyes, Sweet as Perfection, Personal Jesus, Enjoy the Silence, Waiting for the Night. Oh man, so many fucking killer songs on this album. So then, now, that's kind of where it stops with me with Depeche Mode. I like that album. I'm not necessarily a huge Depeche Mode fan. I don't know shit about them other than that album. But several years ago, they put this out, Delta Machine. And my wife and I were out at the store one day, and she likes Violator via me. And we saw this on the shelf, and she said, "Ooh, that's Depeche Mode. Let's get it." She has no idea that there's like 20 fucking albums in between these two. But we picked this up, and it's in a cool, like, book, hardbound book, double disc, and it's good. It's good. It's definitely a... You can tell, you know that Depeche Mode is Depeche Mode. Like, they have an uncanny sound. And this is good. It's dancey, and it's poppy, and it's dark, and it's bleak. It runs a gamut of emotions. And I think they have a new record since this one. And somewhere along the way, I'm going to pick up more Depeche Mode, but they're the type of band that, like, if I'm in a thrift store or a pawn shop and I see a Depeche Mode CD, I'm going to get it. I have a couple of their records that I've bought that very same way. I picked them up at a flea market or something. So, next we have their Blues Charts. I don't know how to say that. So this is kind of a Marshall Industrial act. And I've never known much about them. But I just knew that they were something that I might like. And when I was at Amoeba Records a few years ago, I bought several Death in June CDs that I talked about in our last video. And I picked this up as well. It's this cool kind of like eco wallet type deal. Very minimal, but it looks really fucking good. Spot gloss printing there. I mean, foil stamp printing there. The pleasures received in pain. And that's all that's listed here. There's not even song titles on this. I've only listened to this one time, and I've had it 4 or 5 years, because it was not what I expected. It was a little more like dancey sounding almost. It was a little too, at the time it was too bleep bloopy for what I wanted to hear. I thought it was going to be a little harsher. But I'm not into this kind of stuff all that much. I need to get into it more. I'm going to sit this to the side and listen to it again, because I've not listened to it since I bought it. Now this is not Der Blues Charts. This is a tribute by Altar of Perversion and Mordeoth, and I put it with them on the shelf because it's related to them. And I've never listened to this. I'm not going to listen to a tribute to a band that I don't know their stuff. So, got this in a trade. I had several of them. I sold the rest of them, and I kept one. So, last up, we have... This will be definitely controversial. But this, I have 3 CDs by Der Stürmer. The Storm. So, Der Stürmer is an unabashed Nazi black metal band, you could say. NSBM band. They definitely do not hide their thoughts on the subject. And I listen to a lot of NSBM, and I'll talk about it. I'm certainly not racist. I'm not a Nazi. You know, these days, if you're not out there in the fucking streets protesting everything, you're a Nazi. That's an entirely different subject. But I do like kind of sketchy black metal, and I think that there's a place for everything. You know, someone has to be the anti-hero. Someone has to be the antagonist. Someone has to be the asshole. If not, the world wouldn't function. But Der Stürmer play really, really brutish and kind of barked, stern black metal. And I have a Banner Greater Than Death, which is their kind of main full-length. I have a re-release Digipack split with Capricornus, and Capricornus kind of do the same thing. Funny thing about Capricornus is the guy behind Capricornus was just this unabashed neo-Nazi, and now he is he's almost turned the exact opposite from what I've heard. So, and then Bloodsworn is a compilation, the first 10 years of the band, so a bunch of stuff there. I really, really like this band, and I mean, there's nothing else I can say. I'm not trying to defend them, and I'm not trying to defend my tastes, because I will listen to whatever the fuck I want to listen to. But I'm not out there in the streets fucking spouting their propaganda. And I think more than anything, bands that play this kind of stuff are doing it for that shock value, and probably are not necessarily, you know, they're not holding up what they are doing. Just like, you know, there's not brutal death metal bands out there fucking murdering people. So, Der Stürmer, take it for what it is. Don't like it, don't listen to it. But I like them. I'll drop a link below if you want to listen to it. So that's it. We're right on time. Marduk is done. I hope that this video, the quality, has improved a little bit. I'm working on some things to improve the sound and improve the lighting, and I think this light is way too fucking bright. I need a diffuser. But I think I'm putting more effort into this than I ever planned on. So we'll see what happens. So let's talk about these albums. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon.